put those in a null. Text. And what I'm going to do is create the other 3 textures. Actually, let's just duplicate that one. Come in, and I've got another O. O. L. So add that. There we go. We've now got our wool, and just gonna reduce the length V. So I think the actual kind of width of it is okay. I'm just gonna make it the V, the length of it this way as it goes round, shorter. Let's try 65. That should be alright. And the same on. So those 2 O's are the same. Let's just offset one of them so they're not exactly the same. And the L. Oh, that looks fine. That looks alright. So we've got the textures, we've got the letters. If we add a floor, this is my infinite floor. This is free on my website if you want to download it. Turn off reflection, and then let's add a light. So one of my lights. And we'll create a second one and put it over this side. Just a real quick, simple setup so we can just see what it looks like even before we put the hair on, and then we can just see what else, if we need to do anything else to it. So I'm gonna quickly render yeah, let's just quickly render that. So with it rendered, we can see the textures are looking good. The actual these kind of creases make it look like it's a real kind of cushion. I'd want to play around with these ends a bit more just to get them to work properly, but I'm not at the moment. I could spend probably hours doing that. So all in all, this is looking quite good. So what we're going to do now is add some hair to it, and to get like that fuzzy edge of wool. So what we're going to do is, first off, we need to actually make these editable. So we're going to right click and current state to object. We're going to keep our originals in case you need to come back to them. We can kind of revert back to this point. Just turn that off, and then what I'm going to do is just create that one. with that selected, we're going to come up to our simulate hair objects and add hair. And as you see straight away, it's manic. So first thing we need to do in our hair, we're going to shorten it. Obviously on wool it's very, very short. We're going to reduce this right down to, let's come out of our camera, get up a bit closer. Yeah, let's try 6 centimeters. That's looking alright. And what we're going to do is, if we come into our hair material, we want to make sure that it's the same color. We actually want it, if you look at pictures of wool, it looks very slightly lighter than the actual color itself. So under color surface, the first thing we can do is click surface. That will make sure it's the same color as the actual surface. So we'll get roughly the same color, which is good. And then what we're going to do is, on this color at the top, we can actually make it white. And then on here, if we just decrease that to like say 80, so what it will do is actually blend our surface color with white just to make it slightly lighter. Don't worry about that color. Obviously that's not taken into respect our surface color. So the next thing we want to do is under thickness, we're gonna 1 centimeter is way too large, so we're gonna try 0.1 and 0.1. And then length, we're gonna click that and we're gonna change the variation to 100, just to give that, so there's huge amounts of variation. We don't want anything uniformed. We're also gonna add some frizz, and again we're gonna whack that up to say 80, and then again I want the variation all the way to 100, and we're gonna add some bend, play with that to about 60, 65, whack up the variation, and maybe a little kink as well. Okay, so that should be okay for now. Yeah, let's try that. So again, this is going to be very much depending on the size you've made your text. Will depend on how long you'll want the hair, how many hairs you'll want, and a lot of the other selections. So again, you'll probably want to play around with this a bit more. So for us, this is looking quite good. What I'm going to do is come in here and then increase it to say 50,000, and then what we're going to do is I'm just going to render this out and then just see what it looks like, just give us a reference. So that turned out with white hair. So if we come back into our hair material, let's see, could that be the specular? We've got our color surface on to 80. Let's increase that a bit to 85. And let's just try that again. This time on a slightly smaller area. No, that's still making it light. So what am I doing wrong? Let's put that to 100. There we go. I had the, let's turn specular back on. So this mix, if we just decrease it slightly, let's try 98. And we're just gonna, oh, it's not liking that at all. So what we can do is, if we add, let's try that. I can never remember which way is which with the blend, so let's try subtract then. No, we're still getting these white, which I'm not liking. So what I'll do is, if you come into color, and what we're going to do, we're going to take a snapshot of our actual color. It's a bit too dark. And manually lighten it. So hopefully that will be... is it our specular again? There you go. So let's change this back to white. Reduce this slightly, and hopefully we won't get those light flakes, and we'll have slightly lighter surface texture for our hair. There we go. That's slightly better. Yeah, that's better. Again, you can see it's very slightly lighter, but obviously not bright white, which our specular was creating. And the hairs are a bit long here, so I'll play around with that. Let's reduce the hair length. Let's just reduce this slightly, just to make the renders a bit quicker. Let's reduce that to 4. So the more hairs you have, obviously, as you probably see, you can it can be very render intensive. Let's put that back up again. I can't see the hairs. And this is very much a kind of play it by ear, figure it out for yourself. How many hairs you're going to need, what looks good, what doesn't. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. I'm going to whack up the frizz, kink, and bump a bit more, just to get that gnarly look. Because at the moment it's looking very uniform around the edges, and that's not what I was looking for. It's not what I wanted. That's looking a bit better. Yeah, I'm liking that a bit more. You can see it around the edges. Obviously we're not going to be this close to it, but you can see around the edges. It's not too long. Right, so we've now got our hair on the W. What we're going to do is pretty much copy that onto the O's and the L. So let's make the O an object, make the second O an object, and do the same to the L. And again, we're going to need a hair object for each letter. So let's create another hair object. Actually, let's just duplicate it, see if that works. I've had a few problems when you duplicate the hair. It doesn't always like it. So we're going to come to guides and stick the O into there. And everything else should be the same. Ooh, my computer keeps locking up. See, yeah, so the hairs themselves are a bit... Okay, so no, that's not working. Let's delete that. Just easy enough just to create again. Hair objects, add hair. There we go. Just reduce that down to 4. Whack the hairs up. I don't think we're going to need as many on this one. So that's 40,000. As you can see, like our actual geometry, because we've got a lot of geometry and now we've got the hairs, it might start slowing down. Even my machine's slowing down a bit. So what we're going to do is just turn these two off. I could have just done it from there. So that second hair with the second O obviously has its own default hair. Delete that. Put our hair on it because it's taking the color from the surface. So each So each letter can have the same hair because it will just change it to the surface. And then we're going to create another hair. Again, move that. Reduce that down to 4. And let's do it to the same as the other L, the O, sorry. And then once more for the L. Okay, let's stick to 40,000. So with that, we've now got all our letters with the hair. Bring them back. So let me render out this and we'll see what it looks like. And here's the final render. I did actually render it straight away, but I found that the actual hair was a bit too dark, so I've just changed the color down to 92% and rendered it again, and this is what we get. As you can see, you know, it's looking fairly good. I'm not too pleased with these edges on the fillet cap, but what I did think of while I was waiting for it to render, which took about 3 minutes, I had time to think, we could actually play with the graph a bit more. If we turn these off, add a bit of a brainwave. Let's turn the hair off as well. Oop. Instead of using the caps, if we turn them back to cap, and then come to our graph. Let's show that again. What we can do, I have no idea why I didn't think about this before, is we can just bring that right down to 0 and then make it rounded, and there we go. That's looking a hell of a lot better. And we can actually increase that. There we go. I like that a lot more. So instead of having the caps, the fillet caps, if we keep them at caps, we'll do that. I apologize, I think they're actually working next door, so they're making a lot of noise. We'll do the same to the L. Take the caps off, bring that right down to 0, and then there you go. What I'm going to do is like that. So seeing it this way is looking a lot better, in my opinion anyway, without the caps. So what I'll do, I'll finish this off, I'll redo it and let me render it again, and hopefully you should see the end result without the caps. So I went ahead and made the changes, and as you can see now, this is I think a lot better than like the rounded edges. Maybe I wouldn't have rounded it as much, like I had a clear kind of top, but you can definitely get a lot better edging using the actual the graph. Here we go. So play with that. I'm definitely liking the kind of the amount of fuzz we've got around the edges. It's definitely looking kind of like wool, maybe with a bit of a better backdrop, you know, add some color in there. I think it's a good job. Before I leave you, I wanted to just let you know that I've got my Twitter account now up. I've only got 4 followers. I'm getting a bit lonely here. So if you want to update, if you want updates of my website, of my tutorials, come follow me on Twitter, and I'm not making that many tweets at the moment, but when I get some more followers, I'll start updating with a lot more stuff, and letting you know exactly what's going on. Same as my website. I've got a if you come onto any of the pages at the bottom, I've got a newsletter. So if you want to add your name and email, again, I'll be sending newsletters out for each of my tutorials, just to let you know when they're out, so you can come on here and take a view, see if you find it interesting. We won't be using your email for spam or anything. It's literally just to send you updates of when we have new releases out. So thanks again. I hope you liked the new tutorial. Cheers.